Right now at 6, the search is on.
What if he's in my backyard, what if they can't find him?
The person accused of shooting 2 Portland police officers remains on the run.
When this person is apprehended, my office will hold him accountable to the fullest extent of the law.
Plus, why a company that's had a footprint in the Portland metro for more than a century is moving what's left of its operations north. And later,
the earth was able to bathe in it literally for hours.
Dark, clear skies transforming into a stunning display of northern lights, some of your best photos, and how long the solar storm is set to last.
Good evening. At first at 6, the search for a suspect still on the run after police say this man shot and wounded 2 officers last night in northeast Portland. And right now, investigators say he should be considered armed and dangerous. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Christine Pitawanich. This evening, we learned one of those officers has been released from the hospital. Our Celine Stevens is live at police headquarters downtown with the update. Celine.
Christine, well, Portland police shared earlier that officers were originally responding to a call about a man who was threatening the caller with a knife. And originally, there was no indication that the suspect had a gun. When officers arrived on scene, that's when they located the suspect and were shot.
I heard just a bunch of gunshots back to back.
I was a little surprised. I was like, oh, I think those were gunshots. I normally don't hear those here in this neighborhood.
Monday night, just before 8:30, Portland police responded to Northeast 21st Avenue and Clackamas Street after receiving a call about a man with a knife.
The caller, who contacted 911, reported that a man he did not know had threatened him with a knife.
When officers arrived, they located the suspect between 16th and 17th Avenue on Northeast Clackamas, and that's when the suspect shot 2 officers.
I got 2 officers shot, one in the leg, one in the arm and ear.
1 inch can make all the difference when you're dealing with gunshot wounds, and the outcome could have been far worse.
As of late Tuesday afternoon, PPB revealed 1 officer, a 7-year veteran of the Bureau, has been released from the hospital, while the other officer, a 17-year veteran, remains hospitalized and is stable. Portland police sharing that the last time an officer was injured in a shooting was in 2021.
When this person is apprehended, my office will hold him accountable to the fullest extent of the law.
A large-scale, hours-long search followed the shooting.
I woke up maybe super early this morning. It sounded like there were dogs and people in my backyard in front of my porch. So I was assuming that was still the police activity going on.
So far, the suspect has not yet been found.
I was just a bit scared because I'm what if he's in my backyard, what if they can't find him? What if my family is at risk?
I mean, there's no reason to think that this person doesn't still have a gun or a knife, right? If we have any specific articulable information that shows a risk to the public, we will get that information out as soon as we have it.
PPB confirmed that officers did not fire back. They also described the suspect as being a white man in his mid-30s with facial hair, wearing a black hat, jacket, and pants with a gray hoodie and a black backpack. Anyone with any tips or raw security footage is urged to submit that to authorities. Back to you.
Thank you, Celine. Appreciate it. Well, let's take a closer look at the area where police are asking for security or doorbell video that may help identify the suspect. Detectives are focused here on Northeast 15th to 19th and Broadway to Multnomah from 7 last night to 7 this morning. Yeah, that's 12 hours. For details on what police are looking for and how to upload your video, visit the police section on the City of Portland website.
Happening now, thousands of people are taking to the streets across the country protesting President Trump as he marks 1 year in office.
And at least one of the so-called Free America rallies was right in our own backyard. Catherine Cook's live outside the KGW studios where protesters gathered to make their message heard. Catherine?
And David and Christine, they told us they wanted to come here to show support for local journalism. It was a surprise to us. We had no idea they were planning to end their march here. Nevertheless, they set up an open mic and several folks stepped up to share their thoughts and concerns. Many said they were scared and angry over the Trump administration's continued immigration enforcement tactics. The march began at Cooch Park, where demonstrators first gathered for a rally. We spoke with one woman there who drove over from Polk County to stand in solidarity and hope for the future.
I would like to see midterms change the game. I would like Trump to be removed from office before we end up in World War III. It's gone on way too far, and I'm terrified for my future generation.
Back live in Southwest Portland, this was one of several so-called Free America rallies this afternoon. Coming up at 11, we'll hear from other voices across the metro, including in Vancouver. Back to you.
Catherine Cook in Southwest. Thanks, Catherine. Meanwhile, in a news conference this morning, President Trump laid out what he sees as the biggest accomplishments of his first year of his second term. Those include negotiating lower drug prices, arresting Venezuela's leader, and cracking down on immigration. He also renewed his call to withhold federal funding from so-called sanctuary cities like Portland, where local law enforcement is restricted from helping federal immigration officers.
You got to get rid of your sanctuary cities, and I hope our people know that we're not going to pay sanctuary cities. We're not going to pay them anymore. They are sanctuary for criminals. They hold criminals. We're not going to pay. They can sue us, and maybe they'll win, but we're not giving money to sanctuary cities anymore as of the beginning of the month.
The president has said funding will be cut off February 1st, as you heard, but which funding would be impacted, still unclear at this point. Previous attempts to cut off funding to sanctuary cities were struck down in court. Okay, to a live look outside on this Tuesday night from our Rose City Skycam. Look at it downtown, loving the lights on the water as always, where it is also looking like another chilly one. The weather overnight prompting PBOT to put down more than 5,000 gallons of anti-icer.
Chief Meteorologist Matt Savino is here with our first forecast. So Matt, how cold will it get tonight?
It's going to get cold again tonight, just like last night, basically. Here's a look in the other direction, looking north from our Wells Fargo Skycam. 40 degrees. We've got some scattered high clouds. That's it. The wind continues to blow. Now that the sun has gone down, if there's no wind, it drops off the temperature really, really quickly. And it got cold last night. Look at Vancouver, down to 22. That's the coldest reading in the metro area this winter. It's an interesting thing, though. It's not like we're in the grips of an Arctic air mass. It's simply getting cold because the nights are long, the sky is clear, the air is very dry, and the wind's lightened up. All of those things will allow the temperature and the heat to escape and the temperature to just drop. Portland dropped to 25, but look at Troutdale, 35, 10-degree difference over, 5 miles, because it was windy in Troutdale all night long. Now, if you really like it cold, teens, even single digits, over in central and eastern Oregon. Now, look at Portland by the hour, only taking us down to about 31, but I think many locations will drop into the upper 20s, maybe mid-20s again tomorrow morning. So it's going to be cold like it's been the last several mornings. The winds will back off overnight tonight, so that's some relief, especially in the West Hills. They should back off, and the Portland areas that get hit by the winds. But as you get close to the gorge, those winds will maintain themselves. Fog and low clouds remain confined to the Columbia Basin. Otherwise, we stay clear with more dry weather in the offing. Now, northern lights were spectacular last night for some. Will you see them tonight? We'll talk more about that a little later, guys.
Sounds good. Thank you, Matt.
In your headlines, a Portland veterinarian has been sentenced to 5 years of probation after the DEA says she diverted pain medication meant for animals she was treating for her own use and then replaced the drugs with saline. Brenda Brown Carlson pleaded guilty to charges that include tampering with drug records and attempted animal neglect. The feds were tipped off about this some 2 years ago. They say the scheme affected the treatment of more than 200 animals at 2 different clinics. Brown Carlson also cannot provide vet care for animals, including her own.
In Hillsborough, police arrested a 23-year-old for numerous sex abuse crimes, and they believe there could be more victims. Cedric Valdez is accused of assaulting women in large retail stores or parking lots over several months in Washington County. He was arrested inside the Target store at the Sunset Esplanade Shopping Center on Saturday. If you have any information on Valdez, Hillsborough police want to hear from you.
Salem and Marion County have now launched a team similar to Portland's street response. It is called REACH and pairs first responders with behavioral health specialists on some calls, working to connect people struggling with substance use or mental illness to community services.
For too long, our response options have been limited. When someone was in distress, we called 911. That's what we knew and that's what we were comfortable with. But that leads to repeated calls, crowded emergency departments, and most importantly, people not necessarily getting the treatment that they actually need.
The team, again called REACH, is part of the broader city effort to improve safety and livability in downtown and Northeast Salem.
To rural Washington County now, where a fire leveled a home this afternoon in the North Plains area. This was on Northwest Dorland Road. Firefighters had to call in extra resources to protect nearby houses.
No preliminary cause at this point, but we do have an investigator on scene right now who, as soon as that fire is out, is going to start combing through the evidence, talking to neighbors, and doing everything we can to figure out how this happened.
No word yet on any injuries or if the home was vacant. Developing tonight, it is the end of an era for a longtime fixture in the Portland area.
Alpenrose Dairy says by April it will shut down its Clackamas plant and fully move its operations out of the state. Devin Haskins has that update.
Alpenrose is a longtime Portland fixture, around since 1916, but on the move once again. In 2022, the dairy company moved its operations from Southwest Portland to Clackamas after buying the Larson Creamery as a way to grow their dairy portfolio. At the time, their general manager told us this.
We want to be right here, still in the metro area, easy to serve our key customers and remain a fixture in Portland for the long term.
But that's all changed in just under 4 years. Alpenrose releasing a statement saying it was closing the Clackamas Creamery and moving the entire operation to their Kent, Washington facility to focus on milk production, saying it's faced, quote, economic headwinds. In a statement, the company's CEO writing that worsening butter market economics and a shift in the competitive landscape has impacted the facility's financial performance. Ultimately, we couldn't find a sustainable solution to continue production long term. When asked to expand further on that statement, the company declined to say. I talked with Nate Donnet, a dairy market economist with StoneX.
We've had a big increase in overall milk production.
He says the United States has seen a surge in milk production recently because of good profits in 24 and 25, which has encouraged dairy farmers to produce more milk. And with new dairy plants opening, which meant demand grew.
We have this big increase in milk production, and obviously you use the fat from that milk to make butter. So there's a whole bunch of surplus cream available in the market.
That surplus of milk fat and large cream supply has caused butter prices to drop from about $2.53 a pound in July of last year to $1.35 a pound this month. And for small producers like Alpenrose,
if they had butter in inventory, the value of that butter was cut dramatically, and there could have been some damage to valuations and things like that.
The United States is among the largest milk producers in the world. Oregon ranking just 19th among the states. Washington just a bit higher, near the top 10.
Alpenrose said it would shut this plant down by the end of March, laying off 35 employees. In Clackamas, I'm Devin Haskins, KGW News.